G'day Reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Thanks for watching Gallery Aquatica TV. Today we're going to start to decommission a massive reef tank. This tank has got some really big corals and in particular a massive amount of some stagging Acropora. So today we're going to start by taking out the stags and we're going to glue them onto rocks so that we can ensure that when we move them into the next tank that they're nice and safe. But anyway, let's have a look at the tank and this massive amount of green stag. So I've been calling it green stag, however, colloquially in Australia we call this Dallas. It's a very fast growing Acropora and it's very popular because it's quite hardy and it can really fill out a large tank. And that's exactly what it's doing in this tank. You can see these pieces they're huge. They're, in some points, they're probably even 2 feet across. And so we have to get these pieces out in as large a piece as possible with through the top, and we've only got a small amount of working space, but just getting these this Dallas off the rock is going to be a challenge in itself. But we've just arrived here and we've seen a couple of other things that we want to point out, and really the main thing is the bryopsis. You can see the bryopsis on the back here is absolutely bloomed out of control. So the last time we were here, which was several weeks ago, there were some small patches, but in only a few weeks, it's now the size of, you know, a basketball in spots. So whilst this tank is going to be decommissioned very soon, we're also going to pull out as much of this bryopsis as possible so that it doesn't continue to smother the corals. So we'll start with the bryopsis and then we'll show you how we take the Dallas out of the tank. So I'm going to get rid of the bryopsis out of this tank, or as much as possible. And because it's such large clumps, I'm really just going to pull it out by hand. That is a massive clump of bryopsis. So bryopsis is quite distinct from other types of algae in that it has a feather-shaped leaf. And it's very fast growing. This is by no means a proper control method. Plucking it out by itself, this would certainly continue to regrow, and it would probably be the same amount of bryopsis in 6 weeks time if we were to leave it. But because this tank is being decommissioned, we're not going to worry too much about anything other than just pulling it out by hand. But the proper treatment for bryopsis is actually to dose with fluconazole, and fluconazole is a very effective treatment. It's very safe on the fish and corals. So if this tank weren't being decommissioned, we would give it a course of fluconazole. So that's probably all I'm going to do with the bryopsis for today. When we take out the corals that were in contact with the bryopsis, it'll be very important that we make sure that none of the corals which have any little strands of bryopsis end up in a tank, or else it could get out of control in that tank. Bryopsis before the treatment fluconazole, bryopsis was very difficult because there's really no herbivores which are an effective control. We've tried things like urchins, rabbitfish, there's a foxface in this tank, all sorts of tangs, and there's a coal tang in here, but it's not a palatable algae, and it's very difficult to cure from a tank, to rid from a tank without the use of fluconazole. But luckily, fluconazole is a very effective treatment. And it's a bit of a shame that bryopsis isn't worth anything, because there is a lot in this tank. Well, there was. We've probably got a kilo of Bryopsis there. So we've set up a little working bench here, and what we're going to do is remove the pieces of Dallas from the tank and glue them onto the pieces of real reef rock which we've selected. We've chosen pieces of rock which are hopefully going to be as stable as possible, bearing in mind these pieces of Dallas are very large and we really need a solid base so they don't fall over. And so to glue the coral, the Dallas, onto the rock, we've got a couple of different options. We have some Ecotech coral glue, and I'm probably going to use more of the epoxy, the Two Little Fish Aquastick. The epoxy is probably going to give us a stronger hold more quickly, but in case we do use the glue, I've actually filled this sink with a bit of water out of the tank, and that way if we need to set the glue, we can just dip the whole piece in the sink and that will speed up the glue drying process. I've also got our drums which we're going to use to transport these pieces. Hopefully we'll be able to fit them through the top, but I can already see at least one piece which is not going to fit in this drum. So we might start with a couple of smaller ones. But anyway, we've got these here. We've got water on tap that we can fill the drums as required. We just have to jump in there and we'll start pulling out this Dallas. That's all one solid piece there. I don't know how I'm going to get this out. See if I can get this one more easily. Oh yeah, this one will come out. I'm hoping to not destroy the tank too much. Even though it's being decommissioned, I want to try and leave it intact. It's got a couple of more weeks before it has to be gone. So this is the one that I was worried about fitting in the drum, and it might fit. No, definitely not. So we're gonna have to frag this up. I'll try and save the biggest bit which will fit in here anyway. So now we have the Dallas out of the tank. We need to work as quickly as possible so that we can have it back underwater again ASAP. So this piece had a Bryopsis cluster just at the base, and there's still a bit of Bryopsis below the living tissue on the rock just here. So I'm going to cut that so that there's no chance of us taking any Bryopsis with us. It should just snap. And and I've just checked this is going to fit in. This one isn't even going to fit either. So I think I'll cut it here, probably the safest way to go. So normally I'd use coral cutters, but somehow they got forgotten today. So my Leatherman will have to do. Now that's actually 2 pieces. I'll probably glue them in like so. Still not going to fit. Like that. Okay, this will have to do. So this is how I want it. Hopefully it'll balance like so. So this is going to be 2. I really hope that they're going to be bigger pieces than this. But what we'll do is we'll take any of the smaller bits back to the shop and we'll frag them up there. But this will be this Dallas tree like this. I think I'm going to use glue for this one. Alright, so I'm going to put it under the water for it to set. Now I'll use this piece on here. I'll see if I've got a smaller rock. Okay, like so. So I'll use epoxy for this one. It's always good to have dry hands when you're mixing epoxy. Just take the plastic wrapper off and the end caps. Probably going to need about that much. So I'll knead it until it is homogeneous. Okay, and I normally work with short sausages. And I'm just going to put this in and around the base and gently knead it into the cracks and crevices of the real reef rock. I'm going to get the barrels ready, so I'll fill them with water from the tank. Alright, so this is our barrel and the water is on tap. So I need to fill the barrels so that both of our acros are fully under the water, so probably about half full. But the return pump in the tank is still going, so I might just turn that off. It's probably going to be difficult to get these pieces into the barrel without them falling. This epoxy will take a few minutes, maybe 10 even, before it's fully set. Hopefully it'll set before the acro gets too dry. So that's probably enough water. So I'm going to be a bit impatient. I'm going to try putting this one into the barrel. I just hate leaving any coral out of the water any longer than necessary. The glue hasn't set properly, but it will continue to set in the bucket, in the drum. So I think the epoxy was a better option for this job today. I'm going to put 2 in this one and all the rest of the Dallas in the second one. So it's a little bit disappointing that our barrels weren't anywhere near big enough. So it means I'm going to have to frag this one up here and take it to the shop and then glue it onto their pieces of rock at the shop. So I'm just going to make some cuts. I'm going to try and leave them in as big a pieces as possible. It's hard to know where to start. This is a nice big bit here I want to keep. Hopefully that fits in. So I definitely want to keep all of these little end pieces. The end pieces by themselves make for excellent little frags on frag plugs. The bigger pieces will all go on their own rock like this, but the small pieces just on a frag plug is fine. So now we have our colonies and pieces in the 2 drums, the 2 barrels. We're pretty much good to go. Just going to put the lids on them. Carry them out to the ute. And we'll put these in our propagation room. We'll give them a few weeks. What we want to see is the tissue of the Dallas encrusting down over the glue and the epoxy. And once they're fully encrusted, that's when we can put them in the shop to sell. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. We've really enjoyed bringing it to you, and you know, it'd be great if you can like and comment and share our videos. But that's it for today, so thanks very much and happy reefing. So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.